All right, hello and welcome to the show tonight. We'll wait for some people to come in, but I'm going to go ahead and bring in Mr. Eric Fears. He is a city councilman on for District One. How you doing today, sir?
I'm doing well. How are you?
I'm doing great. It's a great day. It feels good outside, except for the pollen.
I heard this was a record day for pollen.
Yeah. So, can you tell us a bit about yourself? You said you grew up in Conyers, is that right?
That's right. I'm KFC, kid from
All
Conyers.
right. So tell us a little bit about that, how it was, and any changes, growing up that you thought was a good thing. So
Oh,
we'll just start
Conyers is
there.
yeah, Conyers is a great place to live, man. I mean, I think I'm 48 years old. I've lived here 43 years. My only time being away when I was at Georgia Tech. I lived in Atlanta college years, and then a year and a half after that, I lived downtown. And then
Gotcha.
I moved back here. I got married, settled down, had two kids, and we've been here since. So it's an interesting thing. I've traveled the world and done a lot of things, but Conyers has been called home. So
Right.
um, when I grew up, I live across the street from in the house that in a house across the street from where I grew up. So my neighbors have been the same.
That's
But
nice.
but of course, Conyers has changed quite a bit. Not it's changed a lot on some ends, but that hasn't changed a
Hmm.
lot on others. So we look and we you got to figure out what does it mean to make changes in community,
Hmm.
or let some things stay the same as well. So I mean, I think
Right.
a lot of the great appeals to Conyers is its simplicity, but then
Hmm.
there's a lot of changes that happens around it that you want to be able to also participate in or be around. So it's
Gotcha.
it's there.
So what led you or inspired you to run in 2021? And did you have a competitor, or was it just you?
No, I had a competitor, but
Mhm.
I'm a I give this to Coach Stroud, being my basketball coach at Rockdale High School.
Hmm.
Um, so if you know anything about Coach, when he starts yelling at you, he feels like it's a I feel like I was getting ready to run some suicide. So he,
Uh,
he first got me involved in the Economic Development Council, and then
mhm.
after that, he got me involved in. I mean, no, he just really suggested that I run. He was getting ready to retire or step down, and he made a pretty interesting case about it. I know a lot about politics, or know a lot about governance, just from the work that I do and my time with traveling the world with Ambassador Young, but
Mhm.
I didn't never see myself really as a person in government.
Right.
But I think that this has been a rewarding experience, for me to really understand the other side of making change. So it's a good thing.
Yeah. So how did your background as a global business consultant prepare you for the city council,
Um,
or if it did in any way?
no, no, no. I think the easiest way to really think about governance or community building or whatever is that everybody's pretty much the same.
Right.
I think we think I think that we think that people are different. People are really
Mhm.
the same. I realize that all people want is food, water, and access to opportunity.
Yeah.
And that's like the common thread no matter where you go in the world. Um,
Hmm.
but we make it bigger than that. We make it tougher than that. And I think that one of the biggest things about me traveling, specifically traveling throughout Africa, it has helped me understand to to not look at environments, more so to just look at the people.
Mm.
And once you're able to look at the people, then you're able to understand that we really all are the same.
Yeah.
We all, and so but what do you do with that information? Like I
Mhm.
think because a lot of times when you're making decisions, the challenge with government that a lot of people don't really understand is that governments follow. They don't
Mhm.
lead. You know, business, you're allowed to lead. You're allowed to
Mhm.
create the course of things, but government follows.
Mhm.
Anytime you find the government trying to lead something, it's typically not a good situation,
Right.
especially more in a democracy.
Mhm.
Dictators lead, of course, so
Mhm.
that's a whole different discussion. But when you really understand that governments follow, it teaches you to listen more and slow down and and not just listen to the squeaky wheel in the community. It's
Mhm.
try to have insight on all the wheels, so to speak. Because just because somebody's not complaining, just because they're not complaining doesn't mean that something's not wrong.
All right.
And so I think from a consultancy standpoint of what I've done in the past or the work that I kind of still do now, it really gives me a perspective to understand how to listen both and to activate as well. So
Mhm.
all of that makes it a kind of leverage that background to be able to just to listen to people, and it's kind of seamless as well.
All right. And that I was at the last city council meeting, and you was the only one. I think you was the only one to vote against that one. Um, when they was having the warehouse. Why was that? Do you know?
Yeah, well,
Was
it's
that in your district? Is that in your district?
yeah,
Or no?
it's right on. It depends on how you look at it, but yes, it's right on the edge. The street runs right into mine and to the other, so
Mm,
that's actually the line. But the challenge that was a really challenging situation
mhm,
because historical use case of something and intention and change of direction for other things,
mhm,
you don't want your actions to penalize others
all right.
in some aspects. And so
Mhm,
the healthy aspect of governance is, you know, to create a path for the future, to create a framework for the future, but try to really establish understanding of the path of the
mhm,
past as well. So I think there needs to be. I believe we could do a deep dive to understand that the situation a little more
mhm,
from a government standpoint. Like I totally understand the side of not doing spot zoning and all those things. Like I'm all for cohesiveness and community. So that's where I sit. But
gotcha.
but I'm also for um, you know gaming things out a little bit to understand.
Mhm,
Okay, okay, if we don't do this, then what will be done with it?
mhm, all right.
The last thing I want it to be is a boarded up warehouse.
All right.
So
And
so
that's
okay,
all
so
right.
so so I think that there's room for discussion. Maybe that's a one thing I wish that we could do a better job in the community of is engaging or having a platform to engage economic development a little more for situations like that, because
Mhm,
that's a worthwhile piece of property, worthwhile scenario. And I think that
mhm,
some of those issues that become economic issues can just be discussed different. So
mhm,
that's really what I'm advocating for. It's not really advocating for or against what was done,
all
but
right.
I think that room for discussion, like there's a case to be made that Urban Bridge needs to change its profile, right? And the
Yeah.
leading that area leads into Urban Bridge. So there's a lot of things that
Mhm,
happen right off of Main Street and heading into really the heart of my district. That you say, okay, what are we? What is the strategy? What is the future? What does it look like? How do we make
mhm,
changes? So there are aggressive thought processes there, but in order to shift those thought processes, I think there we have to have a roundtable discussion to make things make
all right.
sense. So
So that's what I'm going to present my idea to the council this week. I think we have a meeting this week. So,
Mhm.
Roundtable that I'm starting to look for people. And I think that would be a good discussion to have within that group as well.
Well, I'm one of the things that I don't think we do a good job in the community of is um, providing platforms for
Mhm,
communication, to enhance communication.
mhm,
And I want to make sure that that's in place. So one of the things that I advocated for before was the app and all those kind of things for the city and all that stuff.
mhm.
And we've made strides, but it's not really good enough in terms of communication and being able to get data feedback and making sure that all voices are heard, or at least all voices have an avenue to be heard. Some people don't want to be heard. That's understandable. You kind of live
Right.
here, you can live here, sleep here, you move on or do your thing. But I have a different position about that. I really think that anybody who spends 30 hours a week in the community, whether that's 30 hours sleeping or 30 hours working, you have a voice here.
Mhm,
So it's like I have daytime residents, I have nighttime residents. It's in some
mhm.
aspects, right? So if
Yeah.
those 30 hours are very important, you're already voting with your dollar, or you're voting, or you're voting with it, or you're paying property taxes, or you're you have a say so in the
Mhm.
community. Like you keep businesses alive in Old Town, you keep businesses alive on 138, or
Right.
but I think there's a shift in how we communicate.
Mhm.
When I grew up, it was a Rockdale Citizen. Everything flowed through the
Right.
Rockdale Citizen. Everything
Mhm.
was there. And now, because the way that the internet has kind of shifted the way we do things,
Mhm.
you don't you don't have a concentrated voice where people can go to and lean to grab information. So then now you have next door, you have Facebook, you have Instagram, you have then the Rockville Citizens
YouTube.
still there, but they're broadening their reach. So where
Mhm.
does the everyday citizen who's working every day and raising kids, where do they go to get their information?
Exactly.
And so we some aspects of that should be the city website, and which we
Mhm.
do a very good job of updating you on a lot of things. But some of these things shouldn't be from a governance standpoint. They should be from
Mhm.
a citizen standpoint, where citizens have a platform to be able to express and express respectfully. I think you know you sometimes you get into this, you dive into this black hole of politics, or black hole of next door, or black hole of some of these platforms, where it becomes very toxic, and so people, you want to understand what's going on there, but I think that
Mhm.
the toxicity doesn't have to live in that space. I believe we can actually channel that before it becomes toxic, and I would hate for someone to be upset about something that just because we just didn't hear. So that's
Yeah.
something, as a city, and even myself, we can just do a better job. But I really think the city does a great job of addressing needs, but sometimes
Mhm.
finding that and how to do this or how to do that is very important.
Mhm.
We got platforms like Conyers University and things like that where people can come
Mhm.
learn, but still a ongoing a method is something that we really want to get better at.
Okay. And hopefully I can help with that. And because I plan to run as well in, I guess, what is 2027. And I
Mm.
already have a platform of leadership that listens. So really need more leadership that listens than, not listen. So,
Yeah, that's no problem.
yeah. And then, so what has been your proudest moment or accomplishment so far on the city council?
Um, I don't know if I really look at them look at things that happen that way. I think I can rest easy at night to know that we've made decisions that that input was sought, right?
Mm.
Like we didn't make decisions in a bubble, and I
Okay.
think that and even I think that we really navigated a lot of challenging things. 2024 was a challenging time for the city, but
Mm.
I don't necessarily know if if everybody understands how rough of a time it was, right? We from all the storms, we call it biolab, but then we transitioned from a city manager that's been here forever to a brand new city manager.
Yeah.
And that's a brand new restructuring of talent and people and things of that nature. And I think that, you know, we lost a lot of leadership years, and the city is going through a transition of that.
Yeah.
And so for the city to have a steadiness in that respect and a progressive vision in some other respects, and without, but still also growing pains also, I think it's to be involved in the city at this time. I think it's been very important to help with the transition of that. Now, but I think we also we can look at this a little different.
I think we was just talking about this, about the the decisions that we make in a short amount of frame without a lot of citizen input. I think that's what you're trying to get towards. Is that right?
Yeah. I mean, yeah, I'm all about a decision tree. I am not all knowing. You know what I mean? And I think, one of the things that I'm writing up right now, I wrote up a vision of Conyers.
I was going to ask you that in a minute, but yeah, go ahead.
Yes. So I just wrote up a vision. I mean, and it's so when I first got on council, we had a conversation about it was one of the front porch sessions or something like that. It's a leadership in Conyers and Rockdale. And one of the things I stepped up and I said that it's really two things that I believe challenge our community. One is the vision, and the other one is communication. I think those are the two critical pieces that if we really got those two right, we can figure it out. Conyers has changed.
Yeah.
It's not the Conyers that I know when I grew up. It looks very similar, but it's not the Conyers that I knew when I grew up. Demographically, it's changed. I think economically, it's changed. There's been business mix has changed, but some things have really stayed the same as well. And so, but the question, we did the strategic plan, and postcards were sent out and things of that nature, I think our response was less than 500 people.
Wow.
So we could take that and say, well, people aren't interested, or we could take that and say, how can we make this much more important aspect of what we do? But one of the things that I saw though was that what is the collective vision of our area?
All right.
Right. I got there are aspects that we've written down, and we got a lot of the community participation things, and we want to support each other, help everybody grow. It's a welcoming community, all those kind of different things. We have those frameworks. Right. But one of the things that I hear a lot is everything about we want a Whole Foods, or we want a Sprouts. I think you were in the class with me when we discussed economic development, but it's like, but does the community understand what it takes to get that transition of community? Right. And so, or do we even want it holistically? What do the people want? Like that's governance. Like I said, that's why I say governance follows. It doesn't lead. So we're leaders, but we followers. We're followers. I hear from the people. I got to know what it is, and then we got to come up with the best decision. Present those decisions to the table within the framework that we've all discussed, and then we go from there. That's how governance works. But if there's no understanding of how that works on the citizen level, if there's no understanding of how that works even on the city level, then we kind of just manage opportunities and bide our time, so to speak. We just go and go. Versus, okay, what is the collective choice and vision for our area? Have we published it, stamped it, put it down, and say, I offered. I said, hey, we can. It's okay if we want to remain Mayberry. We just need to put that on a piece of paper and say we're going to remain Mayberry, and we're going to do everything we do to remain Mayberry. Or we could say, hey, you know what? We want to be the Jetsons. We want flying cars. We want to be innovation. We want to be this. We want to be this. But those stakes that we put in the ground all have decisions that come around that. So we've been a historically light industrial area. Historically, we are light industrial, light manufacturing. That's what we are. But if you make an assessment around that, though, you would say, well, Atlanta has grown and it's fintech. It's the fintech capital of the world right now. And then now we're talking about Georgia is becoming the EV capital of the world right now. These are high booming economic positionings. How do we want Conyers, Rockdale to participate in that?
Right.
Is this something that you want us to aggressively go after? Now we're watching this element around data centers. Data centers are booming. Now we've approved 4 of them to come in this area. What does that mean? Is this something that collectively the citizens want, or we just want the citizens to be educated? Is it a sacrifice that, is it a choice of government to be able to take on data centers just to make money? Like all of those different things are open discussion, but they don't have to be heated discussions. Right now, it needs to be awareness.
Right.
What does it mean to transition your city? What is the economic mix that comes in from a data center? Well, we know they don't provide jobs, but they provide taxable income. They increase the tax digest just because of the sheer equipment that's there every year. They increase the property value of that particular area. So now there's a high risk, high reward, or low risk, high reward, or maybe a high risk, low reward. But all those discussions are what come to the table that we need to make sure we're addressing and getting into. But that's where with this transition and communication and technology. So I contend that we haven't responded well to the internet yet.
Rockdale has, but not really Conyers.
No, well, I think totally no one really. I think the world hasn't. Like the internet's been around. The internet's been around 30 years or whatever, functionally. Like when I was in college at Georgia Tech, we were at the beginning stages of the internet. So you watching the internet, and we can communicate quickly. We can speak on things. We can do all these different things. And where it used to be, where it was about just community, right? Where Facebook was, you go across the street to your neighbor and you say something to them, and now you're catching up with your neighbor digitally. We think it's the same because we are aware, but it's like I talked about when we were talking about community development. When we grew up, there was a lot of people who had front porches. Well,
especially here in Conyers, yes.
And so now, when you look at the new developments that we have, now when you look at the developments we have now, they're either no front porches and there's now back decks. So front porch is community building. Back deck is private. You see what I'm saying? So we have people who drive, they work all day, drive into a box. You don't know who your neighbors are. Whereas the way we grew up, everybody knew their neighbor. And because you were walking down Main Street, you saw, hey, how you doing? Hey, even if you didn't say hello, you were saying hello because of the interaction. So now there's digital interaction, and we're substituting that for community engagement. And so but when you look at that, how does that affect governance? But and so we have to have that real, we have to really have that discussion of like, how does it affect governance? How you used to know exactly what your neighbors did. You knew how many kids they had. You just knew it, whether you discuss it or not. You knew how long. Oh, such and such, they work from home, or no, such and such. So that's community. But Now it's like when that person drives into their drive. I mean, because like I said, even back then we had carporches more so than not garages, and so it was a whole different community. And so as a community, those are some of the things that we have to seek input to figure out. So we've made some ordinance changes about new developments and things of that nature. I was very critical about some of the things that happened around Miller's Chapel and some of those developments and stuff like that. And it wasn't to be critical about the development. I love for new houses, but it's just a big transition from what we had in terms of community building. That's my thought, is that it's not about, I'm not against anybody developing or moving or creating more housing. I think Georgia has a housing crisis and all this stuff. I'm not against all that. I am for proper community development. If we want to keep Conyers a small town feel, but with small town feel with opportunities, with emerging opportunities, I think that's really where we're going to settle in at. If we want that, then we have to develop that way. We have to develop to where it almost strategically enables you to be in community.
All right. And you was talking about you had a vision. And so what are some projects that you are currently passionate about? That you're working on?
Yeah, no. So I can speak to what I think is possible. So I from Parker Road, all the way down Parker Road. So you take it from the bridge to Flat Shoals. All right. I think that should be an innovation zone. Yeah. And innovation zone meaning a place where the Restoration Storehouse and the work that they do, they do a lot of stability services. They provide a lot of crisis and stability services for the community. Incredible organization. We've worked with the EV, trying to do EV teaching and training in partnership with Georgia, not Georgia Perimeter, Georgia Piedmont. So, but if you take that and then you run all the way down with the logistics businesses that are there, and then all the way down to RCA, I believe that could be a reimagined economic district where the community, because that building with that Restoration Storehouse is also owned by the county, that the community needs to have a 24-hour computer lab for high level computing. Not, I mean, you doing this podcast here, you know the difference between low level computing and high level computing. Because if you have, I can already tell you right now, you have a higher level computer, because we would be buffering every minute in this discussion. But if we're in the digital age, we have entered the digital, revolution, and they call it the fourth industrial revolution and all this stuff. If we're in the digital age, I think a part of governance should be to add value in the digital space to be able to help citizens have access to growing environments that can increase value for their bottom lines. Because like it's a critical thing that we're in a light industrial area. Light industrial areas cap out economically. They will never be the upper echelon of money. Now, I'm for anybody working anywhere they want to work, but the price of real estate and the cost of living has increased that surpasses and creates challenges for the light industrial environment. So there needs to be an integration of robotics and AI and all kind of other elements that are happening that are real economic drivers this day and age, right? So I believe a government can participate in that. So it's just like we fund libraries, we can fund digital learning centers, and I believe that if we put that in front of the people, we are investing the people's money when we start talking about what governments provide. I believe that will go over well with those that are looking to increase their abilities,
and maybe even with the data centers, have that incorporated into them.
No, of course, no. So yeah, if you're creating a technology park or a data center park on one end, having place for people to learn and integrate and one side is the blue collar side of digital, right? It's the maintenance of hardware. And the other side is the activation of software. But both of those sides, I believe we need to be intentional in creating that environment. And so Parker Road is right. It's a central location in the county where it's not just the city of Conyers residents coming to utilize it, is the county. But we're talking about being able to have possible podcast studio or but even more so video editing services that are available, high level sound engineering type items, like where one, you can learn it, but also you can rent it out at a more of a nominal cost, but you're able to process files and learn things much quicker or utilize things much quicker because we don't have the best internet in all of our areas as well. So we have to look at, how do I connect the citizens to economic opportunities? Like I want Conyers to be the place of where we unlock economic opportunities, where we literally unlock opportunities. I can't make anybody go toward opportunities, but my interest from this perspective is to make sure that people have access to opportunities. Access. People can live as in a one bedroom studio or just a studio apartment, or they can live in a mansion. That has no bearing on what I think. I'm not going to dictate how you express your life while you're here on earth. That's not my job. But I do believe I can add value in helping people have access to opportunities.
And I like that too. And so, with all that information, what does your future role in the city of Conyers look like?
I don't even know what my future role in tomorrow's dinner looks like right now. So, because I mean, the good thing about life, a good thing about me doing what I do now, is that I've somewhat set my schedule. But I've recently embarked upon going to Africa and helping, taking on. I wrote a strategy called Innovation City, where we really focus on collaboratively building the digital age or digital innovation in countries. And so it requires a lot of travel, requires me to really be hands-on with some of these projects. And for me, if I serve, I want to serve well, right? So that's really my thing. If I serve, I want to serve well. I want to be in a position where it's not that I'm the absentee council member or anything like that. Like I need to be, I make it a point to schedule my travel around, the council meetings and necessary meetings. I've been very, very present. I think only one of them I had to call in a vote from another area somewhere, but
you were still there.
Yeah, exactly. Like I'm making it a priority. I'm here to serve. Like, like at the end of the day, I'm here to serve. So if I'm here to serve, I need to, take that serious, take that responsibility serious. So only thing that would impede me from continuing to serve would be if this just gets so overwhelming where I'm, contemplating purchasing a cloning machine or something. So, and if it gets that far, I think we got some problems.
All right. We got a couple of questions from the audience. Do you feel the chamber is effective from bringing business to Conyers, or is that not their responsibility?
No, the responsibility of the chamber is to really to aggregate the businesses here and allow them to have a voice in what's going on economically here. More so, it's CREDC, is the Conyers Rockdale Economic Development Council, is what is supposed to get in. Is the main responsibility. The leader of that, executive director of that, is Kevin Hanna. And it is their responsibility. But I can say it this way: I think that we have to, and I'm going to put a citizen's hat on. Citizens need to be much more involved in economic development. And then there needs to be a platform to not just express, because I hear a lot about the Whole Foods. We want this, we want this. No, citizens need to understand how economic diversity happens in your community, or how to transition a community. Some of those things I believe that we can empower and do a lot better job of educating and even helping businesses have more resources for the businesses that are here to be better. Right. So one part of attracting new businesses is the difficult part because you don't know when that happens. But the other part of it is the businesses that are here, how do we help them become better?
Right. And so the other one was, let's see, could data centers provide educational opportunity for internships for students?
Well, I would take the word could out on that one because the answer to that is easily yes, but it's more so how do we hold them accountable to make sure they do that? Right. Like, so I think that one of the transitioning points of business is that when people do come into your community, the collaborative element, because you're inviting a neighbor, right? Like you're marrying a company. That's a challenge with BioLab. We've been married to BioLab, whether it was arranged marriage or it was a willful marriage. We've been married, been literally married to BioLab. So if that neighbor, or if you're married and you're into that community, then what are the responsibilities? And I think we can learn from the laissez-faire nature that we've had in the past. And it's not necessarily a bad thing that we weren't trying to impede on businesses or provide extra regulations or anything like that. But I believe that as a community, we need to settle our standards or set our standards and then be able to advocate for self when we bring people in. Because I can't wait for somebody to act as if they care for us. We need to actually set the standards of when we engage. How do we work together? We know that they need our power. We know that they need our water. We know that they need our land. Even if it's private owned land, we still share the resource. So we understand the economics of what they need. But then in that community, there should be the same list of not demands, but it's just collaborative discussion about what we need. And that's from knowing the vision of who you are and where you're going.
And so how do we attract high-level digital opportunities for here in Conyers?
Economics. Yeah. Well, no, I think the how we attract that one is very similar to what happened in Alpharetta. We have to make investments in our digital environment. That means what is our fiber footprint look like? How good is the internet in multiple areas? But then also, I think we need to, because we're so small in terms of a land mass, we're the second smallest county. I think that we need to be open to piloting technologies instead of utilizing much more land for development. Right? Like I believe if there's any place that should have flying cars and instead of Atlanta, it should be Conyers.
Okay.
Like anything that should have like this mobile sidewalk and new electricity type environment, all these things that people want to pilot, because we are 25 miles away from a booming metropolis.
Right.
So therefore, we're the perfect environment to pilot. We have one city government, one school board, and one county. That you can get leadership in a room and, very easily here versus any other county along I-20 or along 75 or 85. So I think that's a competitive advantage that we need to tap into.
And I think with your vision of how you see Rockdale or Conyers, I'm sorry, I think you'll be good to have a town hall, start having town halls.
Oh, for sure. We need them.
I think.
Yeah, I can tell you that the organizing of the citizen voice is imperative.
Yeah.
Right. And it's not just sometimes I think that we think these things are obligations, and that's just the wrong way to look at it for me. These things are they're just necessary.
Yeah,
they're necessary.
I think that would be good for both of us to collaborate on, because we're both about community. It will help bring community together and bring voices together at the same time.
I'm all for it. This is an easy way to do it. Let's talk.
All right, sounds great. And then we got another question. The young adults need to be addressed as to what they like to see the city of Conyers becoming, even though the high schoolers if we want them to come here, we need to let them be heard in what they like to see. And I
Well,
think I like what Valencia's doing with her students a lot.
yeah. Well. I think that it's a couple different ways.
Mhm.
Being great at providing opportunity is really what people want to see.
Mhm.
Opportunity attracts everybody. It's not just the young people. I need the adults to feel great about being in Conyers. You know what I'm saying?
Right. Yeah.
I need adults to know that they can progressively grow and retire here.
Mhm.
You know,
Mhm.
that their financial success can be established. I think the young people as well, like young people when they leave high school or when they're going through their journey from 13, 13 up, they know that soon they will be leaving their house.
Mhm.
So what do they have access to? Is it just a light industrial job or go to
Mhm.
college or go to the military? That's,
Mhm.
unfortunately, those were the offerings when I came out of school.
Mhm.
I worked at Sweetheart Plastic or now Dart. that was
Yeah.
my that was my job, right?
Yeah.
And that
Mhm.
job made sure I went to college
Okay.
because I worked 12-hour shifts and
Mhm.
3 days on, 3 days off, 2 days on, 2 days off. But
Yeah.
the people that were there, they were like, "Look, man, you need to make sure you go into school."
Mm.
And so what I think in this age, we have more opportunities. I mean, we're watching YouTubers, we're watching those people that create content actually make a
Mhm.
living. We're watching people make music, make a living. And so those careers that young people have access to have transitioned out of the light industrial in some aspects.
Mhm.
Right. It's like they are the loose framework opportunities. So how
Mhm.
do we give the base skills in those environments? So how do we bring back the vocational training in a sense
Mhm.
where, like I said, in the digital age, if we're going to utilize data centers, that means that fiber is being run, that means that
Mhm.
servers are being installed, that means that chips are being manufactured, that means that there's a processing environment somewhere,
Yeah.
right? There's
Mhm.
maintenance, there's towers, there's so many different things that comes along with the industry of data.
All right.
So where do we participate in that to where a person can make a quality living to be able to live in Conyers?
So, and I like we have Rockdale Career Academy. I think that'll be something perfect for them to link up with.
Yeah, we can and we can enhance their offerings. Like I
Mhm.
said, I'm all for diversity and options. I think one thing that we've tried to do, probably somewhat to a fault, is provide an array of opportunities for people to.
Mhm.
However, capitalism doesn't necessarily work like that.
Mhm.
Capitalism works in a way what can be
Mhm.
monetized.
All right.
It doesn't matter what you learn. It's about what can actually add value economically
Mhm.
to an environment. So I think that's something that also our citizen engagement needs to understand, that yeah, you can have a very, 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 very incredible talent and tool and skill set, but
Mhm.
if that skill set is no longer of value economically,
Mhm.
we have to accept that is dying out.
Mhm.
And so we need to have a transitional point. That's where I'm always advocating for AI and
All right.
machine learning. Not I hear a lot of people that are afraid of it. I'm like, no,
Yeah.
it's too late to be afraid of it.
Mhm. It's already here. I might as well learn how to use it. Right.
Yeah, let me help you lean in, because once
Mhm.
you lean in, I was just dealing with my nephew earlier today. I asked him, I said, "Have you downloaded Claude AI or ChatGPT yet?" And
Mhm.
because he asked me a question, I said, "Well, it's cool. You can ask me this question." I said, "But this same question, you could have actually asked that question to the engine, and then
Mhm.
you come to me and say, 'Hey, man, I don't really understand a lot of these things. How could we do this better?'" That's a whole
Yeah.
different conversation now. That's a well-informed
Mhm.
individual. And so access to information is totally different. We talk about what's different from me growing up to them growing up now. Access to information is totally different.
Yes. That's good. We talked about a lot tonight. How do you well, we talked about it a little bit, but how can we, me and you together, I guess, can get citizens more involved in the local government and community and initiatives?
Set up first of all, set up the meeting for the discussion.
Uh,
Let's work on a calendar. Let's put it on. Let's just. All I know how to do is start.
all right. Mhm.
Like
Yeah.
I don't like. Just let the magic happen. Let's start.
Mhm.
Let's put some skill sets together. Let's put a calendar item. You know, we're gonna do X, Y, and Z. We want to get the community involved, and we just start inviting. You know, changing behavior means changing behavior. You have to be willing to change the behavior,
All
right?
right.
You have to be willing. So right
Mhm.
now, we are in an environment where people may not feel as heard as they could be.
Mhm. So we got town halls with open mics. How you feel about that?
Well, open mics, I'm fine with that. But I think that I think we also need to. I'm all about town halls with digital platforms, so all the voices can be captured. Because like
Gotcha.
discussions are one
Mhm.
thing. We
Right.
can talk, talk, but I want a
Mhm.
report of what was said. Because like for me, my ideal world, so I believe in scholars, innovators, and entrepreneurs. Scholars study the problems, innovators solve the problems, entrepreneurs scale the solution typically in this environment.
Mhm.
So I believe there's probably no more than about 40 issues in this community,
Mhm.
right? Well,
Okay.
let's write them all down.
Mhm.
Everything that everybody's mad about, upset about, whatever, good, bad, and different. They don't have to be even to the point of anger, to concerns.
Right.
Let's get in there. Let's write them all down, and then at that point, as a community, we agree that we're no longer going to complain about these things
Mhm.
because now you effectively passed them over to what your government is supposed to do.
Mhm.
These are the issues that we find strong in this community. Now let's start actively using government, our aggregated voice, which is our aggregated voice of innovators. Ultimately, that's what we
Mhm.
hire city managers for. That's what we hire the department heads for. They're supposed to look at the community in a structured manner because this is their day-to-day job to look at the problems that we see in the community. That's what the pathway should be. So if you have an environment where people are consistently complaining about certain things, that means there's not a consistent, there's a drop in the ball.
Mhm.
Because, and then if one person may see something, two people may see something, 10 people, 15, 20, 100 people may see something, but we still got in the city 20,000 more people.
Right.
Right. So that
Mhm.
means that should be something that's laid out. Let's evaluate it. Let's see what makes sense of it. And then put it before the people once again. Hey, we noticed that we've been talking about getting new grocery stores or changing this on West Avenue or whatever these things that are centralized topics. Now we put that out to poll, to survey, so that the city knows exactly what it needs to focus on.
That's a good start. So probably I'll probably be working on something to start a town hall so we can address, if there are 40 issues, what are those 40 issues, So
Well. Listen, I know that there's 7.
7. Okay.
I like it doesn't matter where I go, no matter where I speak.
Mhm.
I can tell you people are going to talk about the schools and how can we make them better.
All right.
We're going to talk about
Those are the main concerns, right?
yeah. It's like you're
Okay.
gonna but like I said though, there should be a structure in place
Mhm.
where that voice is heard and even visual progress. What have we done about it? Like
All right.
one of the things that I think that we take for granted is how good our police department has been.
Mhm. Mhm.
But and then I get onto the police department about it because we get incredible crime data. Our data, we have a safe place. But as a community, we invest in all the technologies that make a community safe.
Mhm.
But does the everyday citizen actually know that we're doing that?
All right. And then she was just saying that you said previous. I guess what we're trying to do is get it where they can be responsive enough, right? Because we only did it one way, right?
Yeah. No, so the what I think that we need to do is have continuous. These wouldn't be surveys per
Mhm.
se, like one initiative surveys. These would be digital feedback and responses so that as we ongoing, we're getting data. We should always be collecting data at this point. We have infrastructure to collect data. We have infrastructure. There should be a platform for you to voice your concerns. If it's as little as a pothole, there should be an avenue. But there's or as, hey, it's a dangerous trend that I'm seeing right now, that there's this happening in the community. Or when are we going to do something about the aesthetics of West Avenue? Or when are we going, like those are collective things that there should be a repository somewhere with that information.
And they're wanting to know what the 7 are, if you can name them. My audience is very informative people.
Yeah. Okay, so what do I always hear about? So Whole Foods is when are we getting a Whole Foods or a Sprouts or some type of elevated grocery experience?
And we always hear that. The bad thing is we always hear the same response. It's like, number one, we don't make enough money.
So, and honestly, I don't believe that that's true. I believe that the truth in that, I'm giving you my truth in that, I would guess I would say, but the truth in that is the data along about, we had one of the most successful Walmarts in the country. Okay. That successful Walmart actually gave Walmart the ability to put the one in Hazel Brand down in Covington, the one in Panola, and the one on Turner Hill. It was out of the actual economics of that. When Harbor Freight, when it came in, it was one of the top Harbor Freights in the country. When Academy Sports came in, outside of the ones in Texas, it has been a very successful Academy Sports. The data shows, because we are split by I-20, we have a further reach. So you can't count the households in Rockdale as the solution.
Source of income that it's coming.
So it's a poorly told story, because we pull from everybody within 45 miles. We are the tip of the spear for Atlanta. So therefore, if we're that tip, then people coming from, the Rutledges and Madisons and all that area, they have to count. People coming from Henry County, they count. The people coming from the DeKalb County, they count. They all count coming to this place, because why? We have easy access to our economic districts. We only have 4 exits. All of our economic districts are split by I-20. Yeah. So having that access is, that's why I said it comes down from a visionary standpoint of what we do, or else we're going to get to building more houses and thinking that's the solution. So let me get back to the 7 though. So one, we started with the Whole Foods and Sprouts. 2, we thought I deal with the quality of housing. 3, I deal with liquor stores, the amount of liquor stores in the community, and we've successfully addressed that. Hopefully, everybody knows that we put ordinances and because we can't tell people not to turn things into liquor stores. What we can do is put distance restrictions, and that's what we've done. So just so anybody knows, there's a distance and a population restriction to our liquor stores now. So,
I think the hard thing. Well, one hard thing about the distance, I think I know one of the ordinances is can't be so amount of feet from a church. Is that right?
Well, no, that the churches and all those things are one thing, but no, it's door to door. There's a distance that there has. So there's a radius. Each store creates a radius that one can't come within that radius. But also, we also have the population restriction. So it's every 5,000 people. A new seat for a liquor store can be initiated. So in order for us to get, I think we have 5 in the city limits, 5 or 6 in the city limits. So, it's every 5,000 people. So our population has to go over 30,000 people in the city of Conyers in order for there to be another liquor store. So like we put restrictive elements into that. So, but like I said, I don't think we do a good job of telling people what we've done. So I can also say that part, but that's us listening to the people actually responding. But so I'm at 3. I got Whole Foods, I got liquor, I got housing. Yep. Then I got schools. That's 4. 5 is economics. How can we get better jobs? 6 is the teens. How do we get better engagement with the teens? And then 7 is the one we're dealing with right now, is talking to the community. How do we get better feedback? How do we get better engagement? Those, no matter where I go, I'm going to consistently hear something with those. But I'm pretty sure I can randomly get into one thing that fell off the list was parks and us improving in our park. We did that. Another things I hear is sidewalks in the community. How do we take, how do we get better, make this a much more better walking area?
I'm going to give you one more.
Go ahead, give me.
This is going to be mine since I'm on the Keep Conyers Rockdale Clean Beautiful campaign. It's more trees. I need more trees.
No. Well, so that trees, you mix that with the housing. I typically deal with trees on housing. We cut down too many trees to build these other these questionable houses. I'm not gonna call them ugly, but I'll say these questionable.
So, like they did at Pine Log. I live right across from Pine Log, so they tore some trees down to build those houses over there.
That's what I'm saying. I think it looks like we're haphazardly doing these things instead of there being an organized direction. And I don't think things need to be contentious. I think needs to be communicated and understood, right? Like I think the citizens respect when somebody says, "Hey, this is what we listen to this. Here is what our solution is." Yeah, you may not really like the direction of solution, but you can at least respect the fact that you were listened to, and there's an actual true plan of action instead of something where we just pull it out of our rear end. So,
and I think here's another restriction we can put on data centers is within a X amount of miles, like we do the liquor stores, if they're going to start coming like the liquor stores.
Well, the reality is there's no infrastructure for data centers. There's no infrastructure for large scale data centers that can go into Conyers pretty much right now. I mean, unless we do something with the horse park, and I can tell you we're not going to do anything like that. So there's no area in the city that the data centers connect. The large scale ones we could do. There is new technology for smaller footprint data centers that can be
kind of like the computer lab you're talking about, maybe.
Yeah, we could actually put a data center in there that's very small, with several racks that manage and host data as well. To that and in reality, hosting those can be economic generators, and they are. And that's why I think that cities should have a different view of how we leverage our data.
And then I got one more for you, and taxes. That should be a number one concern of everybody.
well, taxes are always going to be a concern, but I think it's more so the utilization of the money, of what those taxes were for and why did they go up. Right now, we're in a downward spiral of real estate values skyrocketing and not being able to understand how assessments are being done. Like we're actually in a very challenging environment right now coming in terms of taxes.
Oh, all right. So I think
conservation. What was that?
Villagehabitat.com.
Okay.
Yeah. And let's see, another electrical substation on Sigmund Road and Farmer Road is coming.
Yeah, that is coming from Georgia Power. They have to put that up there to manage that, manage the data centers.
Yeah, and then let's look at this one. She was telling that was a citizen's issue, but how do you fix the foundation before we try to move forward building Rockdale or Conyers? If it's not the business, we need to look like Alpharetta to attract people in business.
Well, looking like Alpharetta was an economic decision. The economic engine that they chose was data. They built the largest fiber ring in the Southeast. They had it for a while. I don't know who has it now, but they built the largest fiber ring in the Southeast, and that attracted a lot of digital companies to that area. So it is a choice. Infrastructure will always be the first answer, but sometimes we don't know that, like, because it's hard to make investments in the look of an area without the economics to support the area. So it's economic infrastructure is what we have to make sure we always conscious of.
Gotcha. So, if I book a town hall, could we use the city hall for that?
My answer is probably yes, but let me let me run that other flagpole. Let me make sure.
Okay. As long as I get a secure place, we can.
No, we have secure places. I mean,
Okay.
yeah. Let me put it this way: that the locations would be probably the easiest of the answers.
Okay.
I think that could be good though. At
All right.
City, I don't know some of the structured pieces around it. And I'll talk to Cameron. I'll talk to Cameron about it. That's not a problem. I'm just saying if that's something that we want to do, let's put a couple dates out there and we'll figure out how to make it happen.
All right, sounds great. So, folks,
All right.
we're looking forward to that, and then maybe in a couple months, give us a few weeks to work on it, and then we'll get back to you. But yeah,
Come on,
I appreciate your time tonight, sir.
But don't make it a couple months now. Let's get.
Okay, no, it won't be.
Don't be scared to grab a date. Let's go get
it. No, we're gonna go get it. All right.
I look forward to it, man. Thank you so much
yes,
for your
sir.
time. Let's do
Thank you. You too. Yeah.
Talk soon. Bye-bye.
Bye.